What happens when thought stops? Thought appears like a magician's trick. Poof, there it is. But if the magician takes a break, does the rabbit still exist? Thought seems to come out of nowhere, like a magic trick. You don't see it coming, it just shows up. But if the magician, your mind, stops pulling thoughts out of the hat, does anything remain? If thought stops generating reality, does the world continue? Or was it all an illusion from the start? If thought stops, do I stop? Or do I finally start? Or maybe I was just a chatty narrator all along. We often identify with our thoughts. I think, therefore I am. But if thoughts vanish, does the I vanish too? Or does something more real emerge? Maybe all this time we weren't living, we were just narrating our own lives through thought like a voiceover that never stops. When thought goes quiet, do we finally begin to exist in a deeper way? Thought is past playing dress-up as the present. But if the costume falls off, what's left? All thought is based on the past, memories, knowledge, experiences. Even when we think we're in the present, thought is just dressing up old information in new clothes. If we strip away that disguise, what remains? What is the actual present moment without thought interfering? Thought moves, shapes, and controls our reality. It appears from nowhere, drives our actions, and ties us to the past. But what happens when it stops? Do we stop or do we discover something deeper? Maybe thought is just a surface-level illusion, a constant motion that keeps us distracted. And maybe when it stops we don't disappear, we finally arrive. Because if peace exists anywhere, it's in the space where thought is no longer in control. The real question isn't what happens when thought stops. It's who we are without it. If thought is movement and movement stops, am I a statue or finally free? Thought is always moving, one idea to the next, jumping from past to future. If that movement stops, do we become frozen like statues? Or is that stillness actually freedom? Is movement, thinking, a prison, and silence the escape? Ever try to stop thinking? Thought just laughs and says, "Nice try." If you sit down and try to stop thinking, you'll notice that thought doesn't obey. It keeps going, like a rebellious child. Even when you tell it to stop, the thought of stopping is still a thought. So who's really in control here? Are we thinking, or are we being thought? If thought comes from nowhere, where does it go when it's gone? Lost and found for ideas, a thought just appears. But when it disappears, where does it go? Does it vanish into nothing? Does it return to some hidden source? It's like losing your keys. Are they actually gone, or just somewhere you can't see? Maybe all thoughts still exist, just waiting to be remembered. Wars start with thoughts. But has a silent mind ever declared battle? Every war, every conflict, starts with a thought. Someone thinks they are right, someone else thinks they are wrong, and before you know it, destruction follows. But if a mind is silent, can it create conflict? Can war exist without the thinking that fuels it? Maybe peace isn't something we create. It's what's left when thought stops running the show. No thought, no self? So who's asking this question? And why do I suddenly feel like a Zen koan? If I am my thoughts, and my thoughts disappear, do I disappear too? But wait, who's asking this question? Who is aware that thoughts are gone? This is a classic Zen paradox. If there's no thinker, then who's there to notice the absence of thought? Maybe there's something deeper than thought itself. If thought is the past in disguise, is the present just the past forgetting to show up? We think we are in the present, but thought is always dragging the past along. So, is the real present moment just a space where the past forgets to intrude? When thought is gone, do we finally experience the actual now? Or is the now just what happens when thought isn't clouding it? What happens when thought stops? Maybe peace. Or maybe I just realize I left the stove on. Maybe when thought stops, everything becomes peaceful, like a deep stillness. Or maybe, without thought, practical things slip away too, like remembering if you left the stove on. Do we need thought for survival, or does something deeper take over when thought is silent?